I really have to give tremendous praise to Fushi's voice actor, who this is his first season ever doing anime. There is 3 characters that the actor for Fushi has done. Fushi, and then in Shadow's House we have Ricky and his Shadow Master counterpart. 2 series, 3 voices, and the character sounds like, honestly, it comes from one of the best in the industry. From the transition of barely able to speak, to then the time skip in this episode feeling like it's a natural progression over 4 years, it's pure quality. And honestly, one of the biggest reasons I love Dororo from MAPPA a few years back was that the main character didn't know how to speak and then learned to do so over time. But I would honestly give Fushi the edge in this case. The transition from literally nothing to then speaking, but still obviously struggling. You can see it from the way he talks as a wolf to even as the boy. Honestly, absolutely incredible, and it really adds an extra layer. This show is quality. I've complimented how I love how we're not just skipping by arcs. I really thought when I walked into this show that an arc might last 3 to 4 episodes at most. I'm really glad that a character like Gugu, who has arguably had the biggest impact on Fushi's life, I think everyone who he's interacted with up until this point has mattered, don't get me wrong, but Gugu and the brother dynamic that they have here, I mean, it's seriously night and day in comparison to everything else. It really feels like Gugu has taught him so much, and Fushi is truly enjoying life. Of course, it won't always last forever. I mean, the preview starts to build some drama for sure. But the thing is, and like I mentioned with last week's review, we know everyone that Fushi interacts with eventually ends up dead. He is an immortal. Of course, there are those creatures that can kill him, but as long as those creatures don't kill Fushi, then Fushi will outlive every single person who impacts his life. But it's not a matter of if it's going to happen, it's a matter of when. And this episode, I once again was thinking Gugu would end up dead. There's been so many points where it makes you feel like this is the optimal point to kill a character, but rather than just going in the predictable outcome, they end up surviving. Instead of Fushi defeating the enemy, Gugu himself does. And the fact that 4 years later skips, I thought even if Gugu ends up living and beats in this fight, I mean, something ruptured inside his stomach, the thing that carries all the alcohol, he's clearly gonna die. 4 years later, our boy's ripped, he's ready to go, and he's still kicking ass and taking names. This show understands that you're going to assume everyone will end up dead eventually, but we don't know when it will happen. And I really love that about this. I really think the character writing across the board has been very memorable. I mean, just look at the aftermath when they're all eating dinner, including Reen's family, right? You know, we have Gugu just talking shit to Boozman, saying, I'm gonna call you shithead Boozman, but, you know, since he did save my life, I'll drop the shithead, to then just the transition to the family, don't talk to your elders that way. I love how characters who you initially have an impression of, like when the family popped up and they were dragging Reen away, I was like, oh yeah, this is going to be a little dramatic, but I love how it didn't end in a big fight or anything like that. It ended with them all kind of understanding that Reen does have to go home, but the parents as well do need to give her more freedom. It's not just about having a predetermined marriage, it's about letting the girl go out on her own and enjoy being a kid, right? She definitely was a spoiled princess in a lot of ways, but it's not to say like she didn't struggle with her life in her own way. It just wasn't that cliche, everyone who we interact with is going to have an abusive family life. No, it was just a little more tied down than she liked. And I like that she can still go visit them, and I like how she can still interact with them, and rather than running away from home, you know, you make the best of your situation and you try to progress towards that change you want to see. Now, the actual fight I thought was really entertaining. I mean, the creator is without a doubt not a bad guy. I mean, at this point, I know there's a lot of people speculating that, you know, maybe the creator wasn't that great. I mean, it's pretty clear at this point the creator is literally trying to stop the destruction of the world, that these creatures very much have the same ability to that of Fushi, and that's why he constantly encourages Fushi to not stay in one location for too long, because in order to be able to defeat them, you have to continue gaining more and more new experiences. And while Fushi is right, Gugu is strong, Gugu and what he just did to defeat them this last time, it's probably not going to work again the second time. But the creator also isn't pointing a gun to his head saying you absolutely have to do this. You can make your own decisions, even if your decisions might cause you to end up dead. I mean, if it wasn't for Gugu, he would have been stuck as a rock, right? I mean, that absolutely, I thought was going to happen last time he fought one of these creatures. But to actually watch it take place, and, you know, I love the kind of like big brother, little brother dynamic, like Fushi saying, you have to get away here. If you come back, I'll bite your hand. And he absolutely does bite his hand when he comes back. But I like Gugu and how, like, when he starts getting red, I really thought he was sick. I didn't even think about how maybe the thing inside his stomach, like, had a leak, and it just got him really, really drunk or something. And then the refill, the confrontation, to then just fire breathing. It was so cool. And honestly, I really don't know where we're going next. Like, clearly, the preview gives you a general idea of, like, the drama, but I'm curious what will be, like, the pushing point for Fushi to eventually leave. Is Fushi just going to grow up? I mean, he's recognizing he now has facial hair, which is honestly something I didn't think would happen. I thought the human form that he had would stay as is. I didn't think it would grow, but I guess hanging around someone like Gugu, watching him grow up, maybe that naturally influenced his body to allow it to grow up as well. So, I'm curious, will it be a death that causes Fushi to move on, or will it be he decides, you know what, I need to be an adult myself, you guys are doing your own thing, I need to now do my thing. Maybe that's how they're gonna go. Either way, the show, while there's a predictability of that characters will die, it's not really that predictable when you think about it. As we're following an immortal, everyone's gonna end up dead, and the points where you think it is gonna happen, Gugu lying down in bed saying, Fushi, you know, I feel really bad, that's a death flag. Or him fighting the creature by himself, that's a death flag, yet it doesn't happen, right? So I'm really going to be curious to see what's going to happen and where especially Gugu and Reen's relationship will go, because honestly, it's a really cute one. I love when our boy was like storming out saying, oh yeah, marriage, huh? I've never met the guy, but there's no one who loves her more than me. The dude, even when drunk, has some moves, I have to admit, for having a giant helmet on his head, but you gotta love Gugu, right? To Your Eternity is quality. We're halfway through its first season, and it feels like we're just getting started. The transition from literally a rock to now a functioning human boy, I mean, is absolutely crazy and so well done. I mean, I'm really excited to see, like, when the next time Fushi fights these creatures, because both times they've been in a dimly lit forest, right? I mean, it looks cool, the vines coming out, the flames in this episode. But I'm really curious to see what would happen if we're in, like, a bright scene and just, like, how location would play with it, because so far, it's been more of a forest-like attack, right? You know, vines and trees and things like that. I'd be interested to see what it would look like if they're fighting on the water. Would it be influenced by the water as well? Because seemingly similar to that of Fushi taking influence from everything that it's experienced, the creatures hunting Fushi do the same. So it feels like when they attack Fushi, they take influence to its surroundings, which is why we had all the tree-like attacks and things like that. So it'd be very interesting and also kind of terrifying to see what they would be able to do with different types of environments and what they'll end up doing in order to try to attack Fushi, because like the creator said, it will learn from that defeat, right? Even though you won this time, it will learn, so maybe it won't try to attack in a forest anymore, maybe it'll try to attack in the mountaintops, things like that. There's just so much cool things happening in terms of like the endgame, end of the world narrative, as we simultaneously watch a character learn to be human, and so much progression has been made. Of course, as always, let me know your thoughts and feelings on this week's To Your Eternity episode down below. Drop a like to help promote the video, and subscribe if you're new around here. So until next time, everyone, please take care and have a good one.